You're watching the Isaiah Factor, Uncensored.
And thanks for joining us for the second half of the Factor Uncensored. Televangelist Creflo Dollar is back in the headlines again, of course, over money. You might remember him from a few years ago. He once asked members of his congregation to buy him a private jet for $65 million. Now he's singing a much different tune in his sermons. He's attempting to redefine tithing, a common practice of giving 10% of your income to the church as an offering. Instead, he argues tithing is not required to a certain extent or how we think. Two church leaders I spoke with have strong arguments against this case.
So explain it to us. What did he mean he was wrong about tithing?
Well, it was a really good tease when he said he repented for all the teaching that he'd done about tithing in the past, and actually in his sermon told people, throw away everything I ever taught you. That's what he said. Now,
and so what does that mean for someone who has always been, pardon the pun, about the dollar?
Well, I think when we listen to it more closely, we find that what he did was a really good tease. And of course, it got a lot of people talking about what is he doing? And honestly, it seems like it got a lot of pastors nervous. But what he ended up saying is that tithing it should be based on what you earn. So if you earn more, he's saying that you should pay more than a tithe, more than 10%. And people who make very little money, 10% is a lot for them. And ultimately, he's saying it's based not on the law in the Old Testament, but on the grace of the New Testament. And the reason that you tithe is different, i.e., you want to because of your love for God, for the ministry, for the work. You want to, but you don't do it under compulsion. And that is a New Testament scripture as well.
And so do you agree with that, Dr. Ruth, or is he confusing everyone? Not that he's the voice of all churches.
I do not disagree with him. I'll have to hear more of what he's saying. I'm not willing to just say, oh, that's wrong, and it's going to confuse everybody. He's not the pastor of our little church. So it is confusing if you don't listen to what he is saying and the context of what he's saying. He's not saying tithing is wrong. He's just saying the reason it's been done and the way people, including himself, have used it to compel people to give when maybe they didn't want to. That's what he's saying.
So Pastor Alan Lamar Patterson, Mount KRIV, your thoughts on this? Is he confusing people? Is he making a point? What?
Well, Isaiah, I believe it's a tragedy for theology. Yes, he's definitely has confused people. God is not the author of confusion. The devil is. Satan is.
Whoa.
So he is confusing. he's confusing those who are in society who want to jump on the bandwagon, Isaiah, that all the pastor does and all the minister does is ask for money. What I would do is bring clarity to those who are listening and suggest that every entity in society is about money. Money makes the world go around. Money makes businesses work. Money makes ministry work. The only difference between the church and the businesses in the community is that they ask for offerings. Every time you go to the beauty shop, for the females who are listening, whatever you're getting with your hair, whether it's a weave, whether it's a wash, whether it's a cut, they're asking for an offering up front. To all of the men who are listening, every time you go to the barbershop, your barbershop is concerned about your money as a priority. You want to get a fade, you want to get a bald cut, whatever you want to get, a shave, listen, it's an offering. Whenever we go to Papados, whenever we order a swamp thing, a catfish, the chicken tenderloins, the Mardi Gras pasta, it's all an offering. Everywhere we go in society, whether it's the Houston Rockets, the Toyota Center, whether it's Minute Maid Park with the Houston Astros or the Houston Texans at Reliance Stadium, they're asking for offerings. They're even asking for offerings at the parking lot. And guess what, Isaiah? You're not even getting in to enjoy the event without a mandatory offering. So this really confuses people. The church cannot survive without tithes and offerings. In fact, Isaiah, if you look biblically, you go all the way to the first family before God populated the planet with people from out of a mother's womb, when it was just the first family of Adam and Eve. They gave birth to Cain and Abel. An offering was required. Abel brought forth his offering, the first and the fattest. God approved it. Cain brought an offering, the text says, in the course of time, and it was whatever he wanted to give, and God cursed it. So here's the point. I believe people should be compelled to give. And once they are, Isaiah, then they'll have a heart to give once they see that God is about blessing those who believe in giving.
Can
So
you come
Dr.
and do
Ruth,
that
in
for our
hearing what
church?
Pastor Patterson had to say, your thoughts on that?
Oh, I totally agree with Pastor Patterson. And as a matter of fact, if you go back to the tithe and the gift that Melchizedek offered, that Abraham offered to Melchizedek, that was before the law. All of this happened before the law. So Pastor Dollar is trying to say, that was under the law. It was way before the law. And ministry costs money. And we do a lot of stuff free. A lot of it is expected of us. We work 24/7. People call you at 3 o'clock in the morning. You marry people, you bury people, you counsel people. You're always
feed the community.
Yep, all of that. And it costs something to do that. And by the way, nobody from the electric company calls either Pastor Patterson or me and say, you know what? You're in the ministry. You don't have to pay your bills this week.
That's the reality of it. Well, thank you both for joining us. And clarification, don't listen to Creflo Dollar. Listen to these two, Dr.